Hi. Today I'm going to talk about 4 bad habits that are actually great brain work. And so that's what we're going to dive into. I'm Rachel McLeod. I'm a mental health therapist and emotional wellness coach and a practitioner mentor. And I specialize in helping people do the brain work for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress. The brain has a beautiful job for this. Sometimes this block, oftentimes with anxiety, depression, and trauma, this process is blocked, is not working very well. And when that happens, we have more symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress because the brain cannot resolve those for us, and that's its job, is to resolve symptoms for us. And so I really specialize in helping that process get unblocked so that our brain will resolve our symptoms for us and create our health and wellness and move on to those other amazing tasks like fulfilling our dreams, building our dream life, rich deep connections with others, and a host of other things that your brain is responsible for creating. It has its own part of this process, and so we want it to do that so that you have those things. So that's what I specialize in. Now, when this process is blocked, you're going to see these 4 habits show up, and they're bad habits. Nobody likes them. If you come to work with them, people are going to avoid you. If you bring them into your relationship, it's going to drain your relationship out. If you bring this to your children, it's going to disturb your relationship with your children. And while these habits are not attractive to other humans, they are fabulous brain work. And the problem there is that your brain is not able to complete this process I was talking about. And so it leaves these habits undeveloped. And so they're very immature habits. And that's why they're not attractive to other people, because they're like, why are you still doing that? And are we going to do this forever? And yes, if this process does not get unlocked and the brain cannot resolve this process, these habits, they're going to be here forever. The brain's job is, this process where I talk about resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress is the same brain process our brains use for maturation, to make us more mature, to master our environments. So, novice, beginner, advanced, mastery, that process, that scale upward, that's a natural brain function. Brains master things. And so these habits that I'm going to talk about they're very immature. They have not gone through the mastery process yet, and they need to. And there's a reason why the brain is not making them mature, and we need to find that out and help your brain make it mature, because that's its job. And it will do that if this process gets unblocked and starts moving again. It will be a natural outcome. And growth and mastery and all that stuff is what it happens as well with this process. So, and these 4 bad habits are actually the brain trying to move emotions. These are emotion processing habits. We want them to get better and better and more advanced and more masterful. And those people that have mastery in these areas also have high levels of emotional intelligence. They're very smooth with other people. It's not, when we don't have this mastery, we're kind of clunky. And our relationships don't move as smoothly. And there's a couple more things I want to say about this. So, yeah, that's what I've got. I guess I don't get to say those other things yet. But understand, this process, this needs to get mature so that it's part of our brain's effort to process our emotions, but also to organize our emotional intelligence. And so when we're doing these things, we are not emotionally intelligent at that moment. We are in the process of organizing our emotional intelligence. That's why I love these processes. This is why I work with these processes with people, because it's something to honor in us. It's this person's brain's effort to organize their emotional intelligence. The process has just stopped. It's not practiced very well. It's not very good at converting this stuff into emotional intelligence. Otherwise, it would have already happened. When we are good at this stuff, these energies, these same things are still happening. They're just happening at more of the brain speed, which is electricity. So the speed of light. I don't know, the speed of electricity. I don't know how fast electricity moves. Physics question. If you know the answer, pop it in the comments. inform us. And so it's still happening, but you won't really notice because it's zap, 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 as opposed to linger, 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 day, 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 until it becomes a habit that you're known for, and everybody knows, oh my gosh, they're going to do this and this and this and this, right? So when this is happening, if these show up for me, I can see, oh, okay, this is a place, the emotional intelligence is not organizing very well. Let me jump in there and help out. Right? And let's get that moving forward, because I'd like a higher level of mastery. Thank you, please. And that's the same thing I'm noticing with my clients. And so, I'm going to introduce you to these 4 bad habits. And I'm going to build it up because I want you to honor them the way that I'm honoring them. So I'm not going to tell you about them yet because I don't want you to take your bat to them and smash them, because I want that to stop. Also, mental illness occurs because we're not dealing with our stuff in a healthy way. If you, this happens everywhere. If you stop taking your garbage out and putting it in the garbage container and taking it out to the front, if at any place that process gets blocked, there's going to be a ton of garbage right there, and all sorts of rot and bad things are going to happen. Right? And so it's not that you're a bad person, it's this process got blocked. And we need to get that moving so that we can get all this trash out of that spot in your area. Maybe it's in your home, your living room, right beside your bed, right? At the front yard, anywhere. We need to get that moving so that it smells good and it looks good and it's healthy, it's restored function. Right? And these habits are that. They're great processes, but they do get stopped and blocked, and then they're everywhere. And then, so that's really, really important. Also, so mental illness is when we see these processes that aren't working well, and then we abuse ourselves, we shame ourselves, we make fun of ourselves, we scream at ourselves, we start the self-hatred, the self-shaming, we start suppressing the stuff. Don't suppress this. Finish it. Help it complete. Help this process complete. There's a process for this. If this process completes one time, you get healthier and more emotionally intelligent. Every time it completes again, you get more emotionally intelligent. And your brain is practicing the correct use of these things, right? And so then it's getting better and faster, and pretty soon it's moving at the speed of light. Done. Our project is over. And now you don't have this bad habit anymore because it was actually converted to its highest form of movement and of function. And now it's moving at the speed of our brain, electrical, right? So when we don't use these processes well, we're going to get more mental illness. This is one of the reasons why we have so many mentally ill people, is we don't handle this well because we don't like these things. Right? And if you can understand what they are, you will have more tolerance for them. You're not going to like them. That's not going to be how it works. You might like your own, right? And if you have a friend that's really good with these habits and they show up and you guys start holding space for it and you're talking, oh my gosh, I'm doing the thing. I must be struggling with a little bit of brain function. Let me process this let me do this while we process. You might be like, heck yeah, let's do it. Good job. And you might celebrate this process and watch it elevate and resolve right in front of your eyes, which is fantastic. I wish this is what we were doing with each other. But also part of mental health is about competency. How competent are we with these things? If we're going to do the wrong thing with them, we're not going to be very competent. Also, okay, I made a video a while ago called The 4 Levels of Competency. Right. And so I've referenced that. It's in the description of this video. I was going to talk about this. My brain said, talk about the 4 competencies. The first level, I'm going to bust through this really fast. I go in depth about this in that video. But the first level is unconscious incompetence. You don't know that you are bad at this. You're not even aware. It's bliss. Right? Ignorance is bliss. That's about the first level. The second level is things will be come into your awareness what you're incompetent with. This is conscious incompetence, right? And so now all of a sudden, when I tell you these bad habits, you're going to be conscious that you are incompetent in running this energy and functioning higher and more maturely in this area if you have these habits. And many people with anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress do have these habits. Okay? So right here, this is conscious, you're aware that you're incompetent. And then you've got conscious competence. You can, if you pay attention to it long enough, you can do it the right way. And if you do that long enough, then you come over here and you're in unconscious competence. You can do it with your eyes closed. You can do it backwards and forwards. You don't have to use your mind to do it. It's in the subconscious programming. This is the place we're trying to get stuff to. This is mastery. This is what we want. And so, right? Okay, now mental illness occurs. One of the biggest places where we'll find mental illness is right here, with conscious incompetence, when we are conscious of what we are not doing well, right? What we are incompetent with. So when we're here, we find conscious incompetence. When we're aware that we're incompetent, this is make or break. Because if it gets too painful here, we're going to shift back into bliss. We'll just deny that this is happening. We'll suppress it. We're not even going to look at it. We're going to go back to ignoring that entirely, not even thinking about it. And then we lose our opportunity to create mastery and to move it along the process to maturation, right? And so this place is where we have a great opportunity to build our mental health. But if we're here and we're conscious of our incompetence and we start hurting ourselves, self-harming, criticizing ourselves, all these patterns, we're going to create enough pain that our brain's going to say, well, this isn't going to work. Let's go back to ignoring it. They will filter it out for you. You will not find it again until it comes up the next time, and it will. Right? So we want to hold these things well so that we can move them through the process to get the mastery. Okay, and so I'm going to introduce them to you now, and I don't want you to hit them with your stick, with your bat. And let's play nice with these bad habits that are actually great brain function. Okay, the first one is whining. Okay, how about that? Isn't that an immature thing? Okay, pause. I gotta tell you this. I work a lot with complex PTSD, meaning the people that have relationship trauma in early childhood. So that during their developmental years, there were traumatic experiences, whether that was challenges in bonding, dealing with emotionally unavailable parents for whatever reason. Abuse or neglect, right? So during this developmental time frame, if it had been safe to whine, if it had been met with support, the whining process would have matured, right? A lot of times it wasn't safe to whine. You'd get hit, you'd get put in the room, time out, separated, rejected. It's not safe to whine. Well, the whine goes away, but that doesn't mean the process got matured. It doesn't mean that the brain was able to take that process and mature it. That is a method brains use that is native to our system, if we're safe, to express and address and be conscious of our emotional experience at a time when we don't have words for our emotions. Right? So it's the brain's effort to move this emotion from the body, from the pain, and get it to the top. And we are designed to need specific support for that because we need to get it past the survival system, right? And the survival system is listening to the body to receive messages of safety. So if mom or dad were to come up and say, oh my gosh, it sounds like something's really bothering you, I wonder what it is, right? We're whining and we're getting embraced and held and we're working through a problem. That embrace is talking to the survival system, and it's opening up the communication from the mind body. It's turning into logic, reasoning, health and wellness, and organizing the emotional intelligence that is held within the whining. Right? And so the next time that process moves faster with that child, and faster, and pretty soon whining is done and the child has words for their emotional needs and can ask for it and receive and expects to receive. You see all this beautiful stuff? For many people that has never occurred. And so they're still in whining process if they will ever let it out of their mouth. And sometimes the whining doesn't come out of the mouth. Sometimes the whining stays in the mind and the body. But it's still there because it's a brain function. It's a brain process. It's brain work. And so that means that in this area, they're still really immature. They cannot get that emotional intelligence organized because their body's natural way of doing that has been interrupted and stopped. So if you are lucky enough to have a whining habit out of your mouth that you and everyone else is aware of, fabulous. You just get that thing. You're going to need to do some specific brain work with it to get it matured so that you're integrating your emotional intelligence and you're creating your emotional wellness. If you are unlucky enough to still have this in there, but it can't, you're not even aware of it anymore. It doesn't come out of your mouth. You've got all these tricks and whatever so that the sound of your body is whining, but it never comes out of your mouth and you never become aware of it. Okay, we're going to have to go find that, and we're going to have to practice it very intentionally so we can get it matured so that you can use that mind body emotion work effectively. And this is one of the things I do with people. So you are going to practice whining if you work with Rachel. And if you work through my program, you're going to practice this. And it might not look like whining for you. It might not look like typical childish whining, but it's the same energy. And we're going to pull it out and we're going to march it through the healing process and get that matured. Another habit, a bad habit, is complaining. This is excellent. Whether you're complaining internally and you're talking all the trash about all the people around you, complaining about people, or it's coming out of your mouth and you're complaining. The one that keeps it in is no better than the one that gets it out. As a matter of fact, the one that gets it out probably is a little healthier, even though their relationships might not be as healthy, because that stuff takes a big toll on our relationships, but they're not holding it in their body. They're actually doing a little venting work, so they're releasing the pressure, as opposed to the other person that's kind of more probably a pressure cooker. It's about to explode, and that probably does explode. But this process is not for completing the habit of whining. It's the mind-body system letting the top of the brain know, I don't like this. And that's important stuff. That I don't like this needs to go straight to the top. We need that process moving so that the body and that your sensory information gets up here, your emotional intelligence gets organized, and these people at the top of your brain figure out, oh, we don't like that. And then we're going to watch solutions, morals, values, goal setting, and action taking. And we're going to watch you change your environment and get less of what you want. Set your boundaries. Explore your boundaries. I just did a video on healthy boundaries. It's a brain thing. Watch that if you want to see how your this process works, that your brain organizes, sets, and makes accurate your boundaries so that you get more of what you want and less of what you don't want. That's your brain's job. If this process, this maturation, this emotional intelligence organization process isn't working, you will not have boundaries. You will not have health and wellness. You will not have access to your emotional intelligence. And that's the number one indicator of success in every area of our life. So you want your emotional intelligence. You don't want it stuck in your body somewhere, down packed up over here in your pinky toe. You want it up, and you want it being utilized and organized in your amazing neural network, stored healthily and in a very constructive way. Okay? So hear me, complaining is great brain work. It's just not, we want to do different things with this and we want to help it go. It's yours. It's not for the world. It's not for suppressing. It's not for complaining out your mouth and sprinkling it around everywhere. It's actually to get that information up to the top of your brain. There's a practice for this. It should have happened in early childhood. It didn't complete. Sometimes great families just don't have it for this. They don't recognize this as healthy, as something to be supported, and they just dissociate from it, disconnect, attack it. No families are perfect. So sometimes people have lots of wonderful things. They just don't have that process matured yet. So we're just going in there, working that one and bringing that up to the rest of their wellness, the rest of their maturation and mastery, all the things they have mastered. So, okay, another one of these bad habits that is really great brain work is throwing a fit. This is also something that should have been done in early childhood. If it was safe and if you had a supportive parent, you would have thrown fits and they would have supported you to do healthier and healthier things with that fit. They would have been comforting, they would have been attuned, and they would have done the mind-body work to make sure the fit got through your body. Your system's reporting, I don't like this makes me mad, I feel powerless, I don't want this here, right? So you're throwing that fit as a little child, and if you're getting the right support, it's going to the top of your brain, and you're getting your emotional intelligence organized through that method as a child, right? So, and then later on, as you grow, your system learns how to do that. And then without the whole, you kicking your legs and your feet. And I remember one of my kids, I would support this process, and then he kicked his foot on something. He's like, ow. And then I love his brain. I know now his brain was like, we need to throw this fit, but we also hurt ourselves. Can we throw this fit without hurting ourselves? And the next time he threw a fit, it was less wild. And it was more, this child's emotional intelligence is fabulous. I wish I was as emotionally intelligent as that, but that process of it just evolves. Now there's no throwing themselves on the floor and kicking and screaming, and they have a higher way of working with their emotions. It will happen. Just because we let people throw these fits does not mean that they're going to be fit throwers. Brains don't like that. It's not good for us socially. A brain that's processing information is seeing that it's not good socially, and it's making adjustments because it wants to do the emotion work, but it wants to be good socially. And so we'll watch it become very pro-social, very healthy, and very good. And we need to give the brain enough practice with this energy to get there. It's also malfunctioning if you're complaining and you know this is going to harm your relationships, but you're doing it anyway. That says your brain is not evolving this thing. It's stuck doing it the same old way. That means it's not moving through the process we want it to. Okay, so throwing a fit is really important. If you if it was not safe for you to throw a fit in childhood, you have fits to throw now, and so we're gonna work with that process and get that going. Okay, I'm gonna say this right now because I have one more to introduce to you. But one worry people always bring to me: but Rachel, won't I be manifesting what I don't want? Rachel, won't I be if I do this stuff in my notebook or in my car, am I not going to attract this to me? Okay, listen, there is more of parts of you manifesting your reality. If we're going to talk manifestation, okay, or we're talking vibration, we can do this in any way. We can do this. We can do this by frequency, right? More quantum physics, where we're talking about antennas and receivers and vibration, like this is science, but there is more of you broadcasting that signal that's attracting like to you than your mouth and your thoughts. Your heart field is out here. Your body is a major player. That's a frequency. And this whining is already in your frequency. It's in the body. Just because you don't give words to it doesn't make you better. And it doesn't make you, I'm going to hide my frequency from the universe. And I'm going to say some things. I'm not going to say it, but my heart field is screaming it. My legs are screaming it. My behaviors, my nervous system is screaming it. No, we want this stuff out of your body. We want it to go through your mind body systems process for resolving this, deactivating this frequency, no longer needing it, completing it, and using this energy well. And then what you're going to attract to you is more people, more experiences with higher and higher emotional intelligence, because like attracts like. Right? So just because it comes out of your mouth or you write it down and you acknowledge it does not mean you're going to manifest it any more than if it's screaming in your chest, because it is. Okay? So I don't want you to be afraid of this stuff. I want you to deal with it properly. Okay? There are very loving ways to deal with all this brain trash. There's all these loving ways to deal with all these emotions that are a lower vibration, that is the frequency of love and health and wellness, right? So I'm just going to say that because I know lots of people are afraid of that, but I'm just putting that out there briefly. I should do a whole video on that. I'm going to. Okay. The fourth bad habit that is fabulous brain function is so huge, and I personally had to do this a ton because this is a major communication bonding style in my family of origin. And so I really needed a way to get this stuff out of me and heal. And this fourth one, and I was doing it anyway, whether I chose to or not, I just decided to do it well, okay, is pity parties. Pity parties is absolutely fabulous brain function. It's care seeking, it's attention seeking, it's an effort to bond, it's an effort to connect, and it's trying to get the needs met. Okay. Now, how we throw these pity parties is usually very dysfunctional and not going to do anything good but separate. Pity is a very separating energy. It's a very separating emotion, action. It's not great. And the more you get pity processed, the more pity your brain can evolve it into sympathy and empathy, and then finally compassion, which is very boundaried, very healthy, very multiple perspectives. Okay, so but this pity party is something that needs to not stay in the body any longer. It needs to not stay in the programming, right? If we've been watching people pity people or be pity parties or do pity parties, we've been taught, we've learned how to do it through our mirroring neurons. This has to resolve. So when people have a habit of throwing pity parties and inviting you to their pity party, this is an immature process that is not mastered yet, and it's not going to do what they think it's going to do. There's no benefit in attending their pity party, especially if you don't want to, because it's not going to work. If this process is on repeat, that on repeat thing is a sign the mind body system process is blocked. And so if that's happening, you're not going to be helpful to them unless there's things you can do. I don't recommend it right now. Okay. But, we want to, if that's a habit in your world, we want to start moving that habit through your brain's process for maturation, healing, growth, and to evolve this. This is a really great thing. This is emotional intelligence that needs to get organized and elevated, and we want your brain to create with that. It's raw material. Pity party, worrying, complaining is raw emotional material, and it needs to go to the factory, bounce around with all of these guys and have them construct something out of it that's beautiful. That's what they do. This is like alchemy up here, but that survival system, this is the brainstem, and then the survival system, and then the executive functioning, the prefrontal cortex, and a bunch of fabulous guys up here. They're designed to stay in a loop that really helps the mind-body system talk and connect. That survival system can really knock it off. And so I talk about that process, what shuts down the healing process in other videos, especially the one I just did, Healthy Boundaries. It's a brain thing. I talk about it all the time. I'm not going to talk about it today. But simply, we want to work with this to close it. There's a very simple process for that. And I actually teach 4 interventions to work with this part of the brain, the survival system, to get it to allow the mind-body system to connect and talk. And this is the state where all the things are healing. All the growth is happening. All the mastery is happening. So we want to shift the brain into this state over and over and over again so it can really move through our life and create more mastery, more maturation, and health and wellness. So I teach 4 interventions for this. I teach them for free. I teach 3 of them for free in my program, Interventions for Inner World Transformation. These interventions work specifically with the survival system part of the brain. They're very different than talk therapy strategies. So they're a little weird because it's a different part of the brain. If you'll enroll in this program and practice these interventions and see what your system does, I'm pretty sure 97% of people find one of these interventions to be very matching and supportive for them. That's the intervention that they will use to close this loop, to work with this part of the system and get their symptoms resolved. So if you find one of those, you're going to love it. Let me tell you that, because it's going to make your brain work really well, really quickly. And you're going to watch yourself pop out of survival states. It might not last long, because if you've got complex PTSD, there's actually a lot of cleanup work that your brain needs to do before it can stay for long times in a regulated state. So you might watch yourself come out of survival state using these interventions and then go right back. absolutely normal. Your brain has a lot of work to do to really recreate, to create health and wellness and safety and thriving for you. So, but if you can get that little bit or you're noticing a reduction, that's the one. And then you're just going to need to do that brain work, help your brain with this process and clean things up. I have a process for that as well. And that program is called Inner World Transformation. If you find an intervention you like, I will absolutely walk you through the process using my program, or I also do one-on-one coaching, and so I will walk you through this process personally. It's wonderful. It's something you can do for yourself, and it also, not only do you get your these processes reorganized and matured, but you really learn how to support your inner world, which creates so much confidence and wholeness and wellness and security. So there's so many benefits to doing this work, and to specifically using my path that I've created called the Inner World Transformation to walk this journey. So I invite you to do that. I invite you to enroll in my program. Find that link. It's the first interventions for Inner World Transformation is free. It's wonderful. So, and it's definitely a very new way of working with your mind body system, and it's based in science. So that's all I have to say. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If you have comments, leave them in the comment box. If this brought up thoughts, insights, experiences, I'd love to hear about them. I invite you to share your experiences. We have all been there, many of us. If you're watching this video, we have. And also, yeah, if you have questions, drop them in the comments. All right, wonderful connecting with you. I'll talk with you all later. Bye.